They called me a scandal, a whisper in the hallways of power, a headline dressed in red lipstick. But before I was a mistress of Congress, I was something simpler. A believer? I believed in the system, in truth, in justice, in the illusion that the people who governed were somehow greater than the people they governed. I believed until the night I walked into a marble room and saw how power really behaves when no one is watching. They think political sex is about lust. The secret affair between a senator and his secretary, a cliché made for gossip columns. But that's not it. Political sex is not about bodies. It's about leverage. It's about power entering you not through skin, but through influence. When I lay with those men, I wasn't chasing passion. I was feeling the pulse of a nation through the veins of corruption. Every touch was a transaction. Every kiss, a confession. Every whisper of "you understand me" was an unspoken deal. Loyalty for silence, access for affection, power for a piece of my soul. That's the currency of DC. Not dollars, not votes, but desire. Desire wrapped in ambition, polished with lies, and sold as leadership. They say women like me are dangerous. Maybe we are, because we see men for what they are when they think. No one is watching, vulnerable, hungry, and terrified of losing control. Power makes men weak. The higher they climb, the more desperate they become to prove they're still human, still desirable, still godlike in a world that worships them. And I was the altar they confessed to. Political sex is the great equalizer. It strips the suits, the titles, the polished speeches, and leaves only the raw machinery of control. It's not just between a man and a woman. It's between a politician and his image, between the truth and the story, between democracy and desire. When I first entered their world, I thought I could play it. I thought I could dance in the dark without becoming the darkness. I told myself I was in control, that I was using them, not the other way around. I wore power like perfume. I let my words drip like honey while I gathered secrets. But power has a way of devouring the ones who taste it too long. You start believing the lies you tell. You start thinking you belong in rooms built on deceit. And maybe, for a while I did. They used to call me the Whisper, because I was the woman they called when their conscience got too loud, when they needed a secret that didn't breathe. I knew the private fears of men who voted on war. I knew the trembling hands of men who preached morality. I knew the quiet sins behind every promise of virtue. And in that knowing, I became something untouchable, or so I thought. But the thing about political sex is that it's never private. It's theater. Every touch leaves fingerprints. Every lie leaves a shadow. Eventually, the audience always turns the lights on. When they exposed me, they didn't call me powerful. They called me poison. They painted me as temptation, as the fall of great men, as if they hadn't fallen long before I arrived. They said I corrupted them. No, darling, I revealed them. Because political sex isn't an affair of the flesh. It's the mirror that shows the rot behind the marble. The desire for dominance dressed as romance. The pursuit of pleasure disguised as patriotism. I was simply the reflection they couldn't bear to see. I remember one senator told me, "You make me feel alive again." And I laughed, because that's what they all said. As if my body could resurrect their dead morality. As if my presence could baptize their guilt. But they didn't want me. Not really. They wanted escape. They wanted to feel something real in a life built entirely on performance. In a way, I became the conscience of the corrupt. And I carried that weight like a crown and a curse. You see, sex in politics isn't about attraction. It's about validation. It's about a man with too much power and too little peace needing someone to remind him he's still capable of being desired. And for the women, for me, it's about survival in a world where softness is seen as weakness. I weaponized femininity. I made elegance into armor. I made my silence more powerful than their speeches. But the silence kills you slowly. You start to wonder who you are when no one is calling your name behind closed doors. When the lights fade, and you're no longer the whisper. Just a woman who gave too much of herself to men who never really saw her. Political sex is a performance. Yes, but it's also a mirror of the world itself. We trade truth for comfort, integrity for illusion. We want to believe our leaders are pure, so we bury their sins in women like me. We want to believe in morality, so we sacrifice the mistresses to preserve the myths. That's why the system never changes, because the audience would rather burn the stagehand than face the script. But here's what they never tell you. Power and intimacy are twins. Both demand surrender. Both require vulnerability. And when they collide, they create something explosive, something that can't exist in daylight. I've seen men destroy empires just to keep a secret kiss alive. I've seen the moral fabric of nations unravel because one man couldn't control his hunger. That's the true cost of political sex. Not the scandal, not the shame, but the erosion of integrity disguised as passion. And yet, I don't regret it, because I learned more about humanity in those forbidden hours than I ever did from books or speeches. I saw the truth of who we are, desperate, flawed, reaching for meaning in the wrong places. I saw how even the most powerful man can tremble when he's stripped of his illusion. I saw how love, or the closest thing to it, can exist even in corruption's arms. Do I miss it sometimes? The power, the danger, the thrill of knowing I could undo a man with a whisper. But I've learned that the most seductive power isn't the kind you have over others. It's the kind you reclaim for yourself. I no longer live in their world of marble and lies. I no longer define myself by who desired me or feared me. I am not their secret anymore. Now I speak not for revenge, but for revelation. Because somewhere, right now, another young woman is walking into those same rooms, thinking she can play the game and win. And maybe she can for a while, but the game always plays back. To those who listen, I say this: power and desire are two sides of the same hunger. But the moment you let someone feed that hunger for you, you become theirs. Every choice you make in the dark will eventually step into the light. Every lie you whisper will echo back in your own voice. I was the mistress of Congress, yes, but I was also a mirror of America, beautiful, ambitious, and haunted by its own hypocrisy. I've seen the pillow talk that shaped policies. I've seen the human heart try to survive inside the machine of government. And I've learned that the most dangerous affair is not between lovers, but between truth and power. So when you read my name in the archives of scandal, don't just see that woman who seduced a nation's leaders. See the nation that seduced itself? Because in the end, political sex isn't about who lies in whose bed. It's about how far society will go to pretend it still has a conscience. And me. I walked away with mine intact, scarred but awake. They'll call me names. They always do. Temptress, traitor, mistress. But I know what I really was: a witness. A woman who dared to look power in the eye and say, I see you. Naked, trembling, human. No title can save you from that. That's the secret they fear most. That beneath the suits, the speeches, the banners, and the politics, it's all just desire in disguise. Political sex is not about love. It's about revelation. And I was the revelation they couldn't control.